In the last video, we talked about Xcode, and we downloaded and installed Xcode, which is an Apple component or set of components that allows our computer to start becoming what it needs to be, a software development machine. In this video, we're going to talk about another such thing. It's called Homebrew, and Homebrew is a package manager, and what it does is helps us to install other stuff and manage the updates, etc. for other stuff. Lots of open source software is compatible or can be updated and installed by Homebrew. Now we're going to use it to install Node later. Now Node.js has an installer of its own, but we're going to use Homebrew and the package manager because Homebrew is just a good thing to have on your computer when you're a software developer, because you're going to find it useful time and again, and it's going to help us to learn a little bit more and get used to using the terminal a bit more. So let's do that first. Our first thing is to launch the terminal. So we know how to do that. We'll just launch the terminal from Spotlight. There it is. We've gone back to our light theme. So I told you we would use this theme, so I'll make good on that promise, and we're going to use this dark theme. And there's an installer for Homebrew. I'm going to make a new document in a text editor. I'm going to paste in some code here. So we're going to put this into our terminal in a minute. I could type it, but you don't want to watch me type. I'm just going to leave it here, and you can copy it into the terminal. What this is going to do is use terminal to install some software. It's going to install Homebrew. You can see that it's going to hit a website, it's going to download some stuff and install Homebrew. So you need to type this in exactly as you see it here. I'm just going to paste it in and hit enter. Now keep an eye on what terminal does here. Now this password is going to be your machine password, the password you use to log into your computer. Because we're installing software here, it needs your password. So I've just put in my password, I hit enter again, and the installer continues on its merry way. You need to just do what it's telling you here. Hit return when you're asked, and it'll just continue on. So all of these instructions, or all of this stuff returning to the terminal here, is just telling us what's going on in the installation process. So right now it's downloading command line tools for Xcode, for example. So it needed Xcode, we needed Xcode before, so we could then go on with this step, for example. So just keep an eye on the terminal as this goes and do whatever it asks. It's going to take just a few minutes to do this. So if you don't hear from me for a little while, or if it just speed it up in the video, that's what I've done. But just keep an eye on the terminal while this process happens and respond to anything that the computer's asking you to do. And it's done. So nothing exciting is going to happen right now in and of itself. It's just installed a thing that helps us to install and to maintain and update other software that we're going to use for development. So that's, but it's a really important thing to have. Remember I talked to you before about having extensions to certain commands. When you're using something like Homebrew, you can get those commands by doing what it says here, just saying brew help. So you want to know what functionality brew has, Homebrew has. We just type brew help in our in here, and we're going to hit enter, and it's going to tell us all the things that you can do here. So if you type brew search, it's going to do a search, brew info, etc., brew uninstall, and then a formula. So what do you want to uninstall, etc. So this is a way of understanding what functionality and what extended functionality your packages have, or the things that you're using in a terminal have. Okay, great. So we now have Xcode installed, we now have Homebrew installed, and we're ready to move on to the next video. Again, nothing to do here, just make sure it's installed and you've gotten this far.